Everyone thinks they know about ancient Egypt, the pyramids, the mummies, the golden masks. We've seen it in movies, read about it in books, learned about it in school. But what if almost everything you think you know is just the surface? What if the ancient Egyptians had a secret religion? One that most people, even most Egyptians, were never allowed to know. A hidden system of beliefs so powerful, so dangerous, that it was kept behind locked temple doors for thousands of years. And what if I told you that when those secrets finally got out, they changed the entire Western world? This is the story you were never taught, the secret religion of ancient Egypt. Picture this. You're standing outside the Temple of Karnak at midnight. It's 1500 BC. Torches flicker against massive stone columns covered in hieroglyphs. You hear chanting from deep inside, but you can't enter. You're not allowed. Even though you're Egyptian, even though you worship the same gods, there's a religion happening in there that you'll never see. Only the priests know. Only the initiated understand. And they've taken an oath of silence that they'll carry to their graves. For 3,000 years, this is how it worked. Egyptian religion had two faces, the public face that everyone saw, and the secret face that controlled everything. Today, we're going behind those temple doors. Let's start with what we thought we knew. Ancient Egyptian religion seemed straightforward at first. They worshipped hundreds of gods. Ra, the sun god. Osiris, god of the afterlife. Isis, the divine mother. Anubis with his jackal head. Thoth, the god of wisdom. They built massive temples, performed elaborate rituals, mummified their dead, and filled tombs with treasures for the afterlife. Pretty simple, right? Wrong. That's the religion for regular people, farmers, craftsmen, merchants. They'd visit temples, leave offerings, say prayers, hope for good harvests and healthy children. They saw the public ceremonies, the festival processions, the giant statues of gods. But they never saw what happened in the inner sanctums. They never learned what the high priests actually believed. And here's the shocking part. The priests might not have believed what they taught the common people at all. Here's where it gets wild. Greek historians who visited Egypt were fascinated and disturbed by what they found. Herodotus, writing around 450 BC, said that the Egyptians had secret religious practices that he couldn't write about. He literally says, "I know what they are, but I will not speak of them." Why? What did he see that he couldn't tell? Plutarch, another Greek writer, was more direct. He said Egyptian religion had two levels, the outer teachings for the masses and the inner mysteries for initiates. He described secret ceremonies where priests revealed the true nature of the gods. And that true nature, it wasn't what anyone expected. Let's talk about what really happened inside those temples. Egyptian priests weren't just religious leaders. They were scientists, astronomers, mathematicians, physicians, and philosophers. They spent decades in training, learning hieroglyphs which most Egyptians couldn't read, studying sacred texts that were never shown to outsiders, performing rituals that had been passed down for thousands of years. But most importantly, they were learning something else, something hidden in plain sight in all those hieroglyphs covering every temple wall. The gods weren't really gods, not in the way regular people thought. Stay with me here. This is documented. Later Egyptian texts, Greek accounts, and even early Christian writers all confirm this. The initiated priests understood that the gods were symbols, representations of natural forces, cosmic principles, aspects of a single divine reality. The common people prayed to Ra as a literal sun god. The priests understood Ra as the principle of divine light, consciousness, creative power. The people feared Set as an evil god of chaos. The priests understood Set as the necessary force of destruction that allows renewal. They weren't atheists. They believed in something far more sophisticated, a unified divine force that expressed itself through multiple aspects. Sound familiar? It should. This idea later influenced Greek philosophy, Christian mysticism, and even modern spirituality. But in ancient Egypt, this knowledge was locked away, secret, forbidden to outsiders. Let me tell you about the most secret part of all, the mystery schools. deep inside certain temples, initiations took place. These weren't public ceremonies. If you wanted to become a priest of the inner mysteries, you went through years of preparation, fasting, meditation, study, and finally, an initiation ceremony that changed you forever. We don't know exactly what happened. By definition, mysteries are secret, but we have clues. Greek writers who were initiated into Egyptian mysteries described descending into underground chambers, experiencing death and rebirth, encountering terrifying visions, and finally, receiving illumination, a direct experience of divine truth that couldn't be explained in words. Some researchers think these chambers still exist under Egyptian temples. There are unexplored tunnels beneath the Sphinx, sealed rooms under the Step Pyramid. The Temple of Dendera has crypts with strange carvings that most tourists never see. What happened down there? Here's something that'll blow your mind. The famous Book of the Dead, which we find in tombs, isn't really called that. The Egyptians called it the Book of Coming Forth by Day. And it's not a single book. It's a collection of spells, passwords, and instructions for navigating the afterlife. Rich people had customized versions buried with them. But here's the thing. These were simplified, corrupted versions of much older texts. The real knowledge was kept in temple libraries, scrolls that ordinary Egyptians never saw, and some of those secret texts survived. The pyramid texts, carved inside Old Kingdom pyramids that were sealed for 2,000 years, contain some of the oldest religious writings in human history. And they're weird. They don't match the simple mythology we think we know. They talk about the pharaoh becoming a star, merging with the cosmic order, transforming into pure light. This isn't religion. This is mysticism. Esoteric knowledge about the nature of consciousness and reality. The priests knew this stuff. The people didn't. Let's talk about why this was kept secret. Power. Simple as that. Knowledge is power, and the priests had a monopoly on it. They controlled access to the gods. They performed the daily rituals that supposedly kept the universe running. They crowned pharaohs. They interpreted dreams and omens. They decided what was sacred and what was forbidden. If common people knew that the gods were symbolic, that you didn't need priests to access divine truth, that the elaborate rituals were theater designed to maintain cosmic order and social hierarchy, the whole system falls apart. Think about it. Egyptian civilization lasted 3,000 years. 3,000 years. That's longer than most religions have existed. And it was stable because everyone had a role, everyone knew their place, and everyone believed the priests had secret knowledge that kept the world from falling into chaos. And maybe they did. Here's where the story takes a turn that changes everything. Around 300 BC, after Alexander the Great conquered Egypt, something unprecedented happened. Greek philosophers started getting initiated into Egyptian mysteries. And unlike the Egyptians, the Greeks wrote things down. They talked. They spread ideas. The secret religion started leaking out. In the city of Alexandria, Egyptian priests and Greek scholars mixed. They created a hybrid tradition called Hermeticism, named after Hermes Trismegistus, a mythical figure combining the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. Hermetic texts claim to reveal the secret wisdom of ancient Egypt. As above, so below. The idea that the human mind mirrors the divine mind. That through knowledge and spiritual practice, humans can achieve divinity. This wasn't mainstream Egyptian religion. This was the secret stuff, and now it was spreading. These texts traveled to Rome, then medieval Europe. They influenced alchemy, early science, Christian mysticism, and the Renaissance. When scholars in the 1400s rediscovered Hermetic writings, they thought they'd found the lost wisdom of the ancient world. They had, but it was wisdom that had been secret for 3,000 years. Let's dig into the strangest part of Egyptian secret religion, what they actually believed about death. Everyone knows Egyptians were obsessed with the afterlife. But why? What did they really think happened when you died? The public version was simple. If you lived a good life, you'd be judged by Osiris. Your heart would be weighed against the feather of truth. If you passed, you'd enter the field of reeds, a paradise that looked like the Nile Valley but better. If you failed, a monster would devour your soul. Scary, clear, easy to understand. But the mystery texts tell a different story. They describe the soul splitting into multiple parts. The Ka, Ba, Ak, each with different functions. They talk about navigating through the Duat, the underworld, which is described more like a dimension between worlds than a physical place. And the goal wasn't just to reach paradise, it was transformation, becoming one with the divine, achieving a state of consciousness that transcended life and death. This is why pharaohs built pyramids, not as tombs, but as machines for transformation. The shape, the alignment with stars, the interior chambers, all designed according to secret knowledge to facilitate the pharaoh's journey to godhood. And before you think this sounds crazy, remember, Egyptian civilization lasted 3,000 years. They built structures that we still can't fully explain. They had mathematical and astronomical knowledge that was lost and only rediscovered in the modern era. Maybe they knew something we don't. Here's a secret that was literally hidden until recently. In 1945, near the Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi, a farmer found a jar buried in the sand. Inside were 13 leather-bound books, codices filled with texts written in Coptic, the late Egyptian language. These were Gnostic Christian texts, but they contained ideas clearly borrowed from ancient Egyptian mystery religion. Secret knowledge, hidden teachings of Jesus. The idea that enlightenment comes from inner knowledge, not faith alone. Scholars realized these texts preserved ideas that went back thousands of years. Egyptian priests had influenced early Christianity more than anyone realized. The concept of the Trinity, Egyptian triads of gods, the resurrection, Osiris died and was reborn, secret initiations, Egyptian mystery schools. The early Christians weren't just influenced by Judaism and Greek philosophy. They were influenced by Egyptian secret religion, and the Catholic Church spent centuries suppressing these connections, calling them heresy. Why? Because they threatened the Church's authority the same way they would have threatened the Egyptian priest's authority. Secret knowledge is dangerous. But here's the question that haunts me. How much is still hidden? We've translated thousands of hieroglyphic texts, but there are thousands more. Some temples have never been fully excavated. The Valley of the Kings keeps revealing new tombs. Ground-penetrating radar has detected massive cavities under the pyramids that have never been opened. In 2017, scientists using cosmic ray imaging found a huge hidden chamber in the Great Pyramid. It's been sealed for 4,500 years. What's inside? Nobody knows. Egypt's government hasn't allowed anyone to physically access it yet. What if there are libraries down there? Sealed chambers containing the actual secret texts of the mystery schools? What if everything we know is still just scratching the surface? And here's something that makes you think. Ancient Egyptian priests claimed their religion came from a time before the pharaohs, from a golden age when gods walked among humans and taught them wisdom. They pointed to monuments like the Sphinx and said, "We didn't build that. It was already ancient when our civilization began." For centuries, scholars dismissed this as mythology. Then geologists noticed something. The weathering patterns on the Sphinx don't match 4,000 years of wind erosion. They match water erosion, heavy rain. But Egypt hasn't had heavy rain for 10,000 years. Could the Sphinx be older than Egyptian civilization? Could there have been something before? Some earlier culture whose religion the Egyptians inherited and kept secret? We don't know. But the priests insisted it was true, and they were right about a lot of other things we once dismissed as myths. So what was the secret religion of ancient Egypt? On the surface, it was the worship of many gods, colorful mythology, grand temples, elaborate death rituals. But behind closed doors, it was something else entirely. A sophisticated mystical system based on the idea that the universe is fundamentally unified. That consciousness is divine. that through knowledge, discipline, and initiation, humans can transcend their limitations and merge with the cosmic order. It was a religion that used symbols and rituals to encode deep truths about reality, that recognized different levels of understanding for different levels of spiritual development, that preserved knowledge across thousands of years through secret transmission from master to student. And when that knowledge finally escaped from the temples, it helped shape Western philosophy, science, and spirituality in ways we're still discovering. The secret religion of Egypt isn't just ancient history. It's the hidden root of ideas we take for granted today. The concept that all religions point to the same truth, that science and spirituality can coexist, that enlightenment is about knowledge and transformation, not just belief. Those ideas were dangerous in ancient Egypt, dangerous enough to lock away. And maybe, just maybe, there are still secrets waiting in sealed chambers beneath the sand. If this video opened your eyes to a side of history they never taught you in school, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. We're going deeper into ancient mysteries, hidden knowledge, and the secrets that shaped our world. And trust me, Egypt is just the beginning. Drop a comment. What secret do you think is still hidden under the pyramids? Wild theories welcome. Remember, the ancient world wasn't primitive, it was different. And some of what they knew we're only beginning to rediscover. The mysteries are waiting. Are you ready to be initiated?